G'day trendsetters, and Tuesday. I'm JOM with Gravel Cyclist, and I'm coming to you today with a video concerning one of my personal bikes. To my right is a Colnago C50 cross bike, and this is a UCI certified cyclocross bike. This is from the era when legends of cyclocross such as Sven were racing in the sport. You might notice it runs rim brakes, hello there, and other features which I'll cover momentarily. But this is from a time period from before the existence of gravel bikes. So rather than having a gravel bike like we do in the modern day and age, we started off with cyclocross bikes because that's all there was. This bike can fit an illegal size 35mm tyre, which is quite fine for most gravel roads you might encounter, not always. And it has cantilever brakes. This is from before the time of disc brakes. In fact, the biggest hassle with this bike is getting 35mm tyres squeezed in between the brakes without deflating the tyres. So, enough claptrap, let's cover some of the technical features of this bike. I don't exactly recall when I built this bike, but I put it together from all manner of parts to tackle Roubaix races. Races such as Boone Roubaix in North Carolina, sadly no longer in existence. The Tom Dula's Revenge, another race no longer in existence, and so on. Basically, the sort of races and events that favour a road type bike. Oh my gosh, there's a dog stampede. A road type bike with wider tyres, so 28mm tyres, that sort of thing. The frame itself is Italian made by Colnago, and it's lugged construction. So you've got carbon fibre lugs and carbon fibre tubes, so tube to tube construction. It looks very much like a steel bike from the 90s and so on. It's been plenty stiff and comfortable for me, and I know it was plenty stiff, comfortable, and more for Mr. Sven. Holding the frame and fork together is a beautiful American-made Cane Creek headset of Fletcher, North Carolina. This bike is equipped with what I consider a Shimano drivetrain. In other words, it's a combination Shimano and Campagnolo drivetrain, which is quite sacrilegious in the world of purism cycling. Apologies to anyone I've offended. It did begin life originally with a full Campagnolo record 10-speed mechanical group set. When Dura-Ace Di2, the very first version, which utilises the 4-core wiring, external cabling, and a one-piece wiring loom, I thought to myself, after trying it on my time trial bike and learning how amazing it was, I wouldn't mind installing it onto this bike. So I committed one of the ultimate sins. I removed many of the Campagnolo parts, saving for the crankset, and installed the Dura-Ace 10-speed Di2 system. So at the front of the bike, we've got the 10-speed Dura-Ace Di2 shift levers, carbon fibre lever blades, rim brake of course, no hydraulic brakes at this time. I also supplemented the braking system with the TRP cross tops. I love to ride sometimes dodgy terrain, and it's nice to have an extra option to brake and so on. And helping me with that is another gear shifter on top, the climbing shifter by Shimano, so I can brake and change gears using my right hand with my thumb, affecting gear changes on the rear derailleur. The handlebars are by Kestrel, and I do not know if Kestrel is still in business. Once upon a time, they were based out of Watsonville, California, which is not too far from Santa Cruz, California. They're carbon fibre, 40mm wide, and a Ritchie WCS stem in 110mm. And of course, you have a Colnago straight blade cyclocross fork designed for cantilever brakes. The brakes are the fantastic Avid Shorty Ultimate Cantilever. These are, in my opinion, the best cantilever brakes ever made. They're powerful, they're super easy to set up, they're very adjustable, which has always been a little bit of a flaw I find with some cantilever brake designs. Regarding the braking, you might notice how the top tube cabling is run for the rear brake. Because this bike was designed as a full-on cyclocross bike, yet it does have bottle cage mounts, all of the cables ran on top of the top tube so that when the athletes were shouldering the bikes, no worries about cables getting in the way. And of course, this bike was originally designed for cable shifting, so there are provisions for 3 cables on the top tube. Obviously with Di2, we don't need to worry about that too much. The crankset is a glaring standout on this bike. It's by Campagnolo. It's a record square taper unit, namely a compact crank. And again, from the time when Campagnolo was producing square taper bottom brackets before they changed their standards and went with external cups and more. Now, because a 52 chainring was pretty much too big, I thought to myself way back when I built this bike, I took an FSA chainring, applied my Dremel tool to it and modified it to fit this crankset, because Campagnolo in their wisdom usually have one hole for their BCD, bolt circle diameter, off by 1 millimeter or 2 versus Shimano. So this one has a 112. Crazy. One hole offset only. Very annoying. But that point aside, Dremel the chainring out, so 46 big ring. Small ring is a 34 tooth chainring. Inside that bottom bracket is the classic record square taper 102 millimeter bottom bracket. These things are just bomb-proof, reliable, and they keep working. Pedals, the excellent Shimano XTR. This is an older set. I can't remember the exact series, but bomb-proof pedals regardless. Bottle cages are titanium. These are Circa titanium. I acquired these later on in life for this particular bike. The seat post is a legitimate Campagnolo record model, carbon fiber. Quite a rare seat post these days. Saddle, Physique Arione. I've been slowly switching my saddles over to the excellent Ergon SR Men's Pro. It's a saddle I have reviewed, and saddles are of personal choice, that's for sure. But it's a saddle I have absolutely grown to love and find so comfortable for the gravelly roads less traveled. Now onto the drivetrain, and this is the crazy part. This is a Shimano Dura Ace Di2 first generation Di2 10-speed front derailleur. You can see how sizable it is versus the new, more modern offerings, but this was cutting edge stuff. It works just like modern Di2. It's super reliable, has never missed a beat since my ownership. It does trimming and so on, just like the modern Di2 systems as well, but you've got a different wiring system. In fact, this system is completely orphaned from any Di2 systems that followed after this one. It had a unique wiring system, 4 core wire, so 4 wires inside, a one-piece wiring loom, which at the time were available in 3 lengths, small, medium, and large, and sometimes you had to cut and splice them to run them through the inside of a frame and so on. But this one's run completely externally, so there's special tape that Shimano made available at the time to run your Di2 wiring beneath the frame, under the down tube in this case. The rear derailleur, the matching Shimano Dura Ace Di2. It can shift up to a 29 tooth cassette. I have tested that successfully at a couple of Roubaix races in North Carolina. This Di2 system is from a time period before Shimano internalized their batteries inside the seat post. Here's an interesting point. Mr. Craig Calfee of Calfee Designs, whose facility I have visited, and you can check it out in the link below, was arguably the pioneer who thought, why don't we internalize these batteries? So he developed some custom battery systems for Di2, the early Campagnolo EPS and so on. He either trademarked it or patented it. Either way, Shimano purchased that patent, and nowadays you have internalized batteries courtesy of the brilliance of Mr. Craig Calfee. But as you can see, on the down tube beneath the front bottle cage is the Shimano external battery for Di2. The funny thing is, this battery configuration was standard fare on the very first Ultegra Di2 system, which featured this company's first iteration of eTube. The good thing about this battery is it's pretty much bomb-proof. You remove it to charge it, you put it back on the bike. It's fully waterproof. I've never had any problems with batteries going bad in this particular configuration. Cassette at the moment is a 12 to 25, so with a 46 and a 12 to 25, I've got sufficient gearing with a really tight cassette to traverse some of the rolling hills we find around this part of north central Florida. Obviously, it's not going to be ideal gearing if I leave the state and head into the mountains, and so on. The wheel set is a hand-built special. It features Shimano Dura-Ace 7700 series hubs, which are from the 9-speed generation of Shimano Dura-Ace. These hubs just keep on ticking. They've got loose ball bearings. You slap it in some grease once in a while, they just keep going forever. Beautiful. 32 spokes front and rear, and in both cases, each hub is laced to a Stans Alpha 340 rim, which at the time was one of the very few choices we had available for aluminium tubeless rims. So they're not very wide, they're only 17 millimeters internally. But for a 35 millimeter tire, that's probably more than enough, and I've got plenty of miles of this bike and it's pretty much been no worries at all. Tires, well, you can probably guess it already, the venerable Panaracer Gravel King SK 700C by 35 millimeters, and inside my sealant of choice, the only sealant I ever use, Orange Seal Endurance Formula, the best going. So there you have it. This is my personal Colnago C50 Cyclocross bike, which is proof that you do not need to have the latest and greatest machine to ride bicycles on the gravelly roads less travelled. Hello there. I didn't mention this earlier. I purchased this frame and fork off eBay many years ago for a very good price and built it to my personal spec, which is something you can do nowadays, particularly considering the global pandemic happening at the time of this video. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for content such as this, ride experience videos, no bull gravel bike reviews, product reviews, and other madness involving this dog here, the other dog running around the place, and more, as all of it is released to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.